buttons on. Let's make this flow, shall we? Shall we make it flow? Get yourself on your spot. We're going to do a wee quick stretch. A wee quick stretch? A wee quick stretch. And then we're going to get dynamic, and then we're going to practice some of the exercises, which should take no longer than 10, 15 minutes, okay? As in, including the warm-up. So, usual stretch to begin with, okay? If you're not familiar, of course, look at me. Full press up position. Butt squeezed, core squeezed. Lift the hips up. Settle yourself into a nice stretch. Start from the feet. So start trying to get those feet planted. Try to push the heels down. If your heels can't touch the ground, that's fine, okay? And we're going to lock the knees out, and then I'm going to lift my hips and push them back. At the same time, I'm going to push my hands into the ground. So you need a good bit of ground here. If you're on a slidey floor, this does not work. You will not be able to achieve a stretch. If you've got no choice, then I would recommend you put your heels up against a skirting board at least, so at least one part of you is not going anywhere. But from here, you're doing the best you can. Lift the hips, push the hips back, push the heels down, push the hands away from you. This is an ongoing stretch, as in each time, each second that passes, we're trying to take it further and further and further. And then we're going to drop down slowly, so we're bringing these feet together, and I'm going to lift up, good stretch, lower the hips, and then push the hips up and forwards. Okay, so we're not thinking of dropping those hips down and just hanging out there with all that weight on the hips. You're pushing the hips forwards and up and trying to get that nose to touch the ceiling with that nice overextension in my lower back, well, not the lower back, the whole spine, which is helping just decompress, stretch out all the muscles within the spine, but also all those big muscle groups that might be limiting this, which you'll feel them. That's the beauty and why I like this stretch. It lets you identify exactly what's going on, exactly what's stiff, and that can change on a daily basis depending on what exercise you're doing. So for example, my calves are feeling real tight, my ankles are feeling real tight. Usually it's the hamstrings, glutes, but today, off. Okay, so when we're in this second one, we've lifted back up, you can add your side twists in. So we're going side twist with the torso. I'm still trying to keep that fundamental stretch going, as in hips back, pushing those heels down, but I can add that side twist in to bring the upper back into it. And then of course, take your left hand, reach across, try and grab the opposite knee. If that's easy, go for the middle of the shin. If that's easy, aim for the heel. But the idea is, again, you're holding that stretch and we're enhancing the stretch to get to the leg or the heel. Okay, we're not breaking form. The end goal is not to be able to touch. The end goal is to enhance this stretch any way we can. And we're going to drop down one more. So a very important stretch, in my opinion, of course. And it's a good one to start anything, whether it's your day, exercise, I don't know, whatever you get up to in your spare time, you can't go amiss. So again, we're pushing up. This one can easily just be a case of you chilling out here, hanging about, okay? But we're trying to push up, and that's something you can't see, okay? So there is tension going through my body. Good forward stretch here. And then I want you to bring the feet back to shoulder width apart. Try to keep the knees locked out, and I want you to walk your hands towards your feet while keeping your knees fairly locked out. Keep the chin tucked in. We'll start to get a decent stretch in the hamstrings, glutes going into the lower back. When you get to a point you feel you can't go any further, that's when I want you to pause and just focus on a good stretch and then slowly release out of that. Boom. Shake out. We're going to get into our hip sequence now. So, swings, side swings, and toe touches. And as always, make sure you're doing them properly. How do we do them properly? We keep this leg feeling heavy and relaxed, keep it straight, and the pelvis remains neutral, which means that pelvis does not move, okay? So it's all from the hip joint. Keep the knee straight, point your toes up as best you can towards your shin, towards your knee, and that'll enhance the stretch for you, okay? So we're keeping it nice and relaxed, making that leg feel nice and heavy. Once things feel like it's moving pretty well, then we get going. So if you've got any tightness present in your hamstrings and your groin especially, don't stop swinging that leg, okay? Until you feel there's nothing catching. And then we're side swings. If you've got the luxury of a wall, I want you to lean into the wall when you're doing your side swings, okay? I don't want to be vertical. I don't want to be vertical on my side swings. I want to lean, create a bit of a workspace, and the leg that's on the ground, keep those toes pointing away from the body, away from the midline, and that'll just help take any bad pressure off the knee joint itself. That lateral pressure, the force that you're putting on that knee joint by swinging the leg side to side, If you've got the toes pointing directly forward, it probably won't feel too nice. Good. And once again, change when you're ready. So we're not rushing this, we're focusing on quality swings. See a lot of people doing this and it's kind of, they do it because they've been told to do it without any real thought or effort into making the most of it. And the only way you'll really feel what that's doing is one day when you're really stiff and sore and tight and you'll really feel those muscles and why we do that. So we're all going to do this one together, so catch up please, but don't rush at the same time. We're doing our hip hinge, so it's not a lazy toe touch, this one. This is important. We always do this and always talk about this in more detail with the kettlebell classes because the hip hinge, pushing those hips back, it's a hinge at the hips. Think about it, it's just a hinge. Or don't think about it, should I say, don't think about it too much. Get your hands out your pockets. Get your hands out your pockets. Don't stand there with your hands in your pockets. 2 people, disgusting. Good, right. Let's go. We're pushing the hips back and then smashing them forward. Start off slow if things are feeling tight. But what we're doing here is the exact same movement pattern of a kettlebell swing. We're just going a wee bit further, okay? So we're imagining we're holding our kettlebells, but we're able to touch the floor, okay? We're not going that far on a kettlebell swing, of course, but we need to try and increase this range of movement and waken those muscles up a little bit. Once you start to feel like things are flowing well, I want you to touch the floor and then break form to touch behind you. And what we're going to do there, by tucking the chin in as well, is you'll feel it, you'll feel it. If your lower back's a wee bit tight, that's going to help. So we're nice and controlled. And as always, even though when you look at this movement, it can puzzle a lot of people, and I don't mean that in a rude way, it does. You can look at it the wrong way and think that I'm moving forwards with my torso. I'm not, okay? I'm moving my hips back. So all I would say to people is, on this movement is, imagine you're getting your height taken, you're stood up tall against the wall, bring your feet roughly hip to shoulder width apart. From here, soften the knees, as in just unlock them. And from this, I'm trying to maintain this spine, okay? So this spine's nice and neutral. We call it neutral because it's nice, it's not overextended, it's not into flexion, it's nice and solid. What we're trying to do when we push our hips back is maintain that neutral spine. What limits that, what causes that to start to fault is either just bad movement mechanics, as in you're not quite sure of the motor skills, you don't quite have the motor skills yet of how to do it, and that's why I say keep practicing side on in a mirror. Or, of course, you get to a point where you reach the end range of the flexibility of the muscles, usually hamstrings, glutes, lower back, posterior chain, get the mobility class done, and I can't go any further because there's too much tightness there. So then what happens is, I want to keep going further, I don't really, but you do anyway, and then you break form. So see what happens, okay? A break form, all those vertebrae are now opened up, and that's when they're in a high risk position, and that's when a lot of people start to hurt themselves. So learn that movement. If you do struggle to touch the ground, we just done it last week, okay? The deadlift or hip hinge mobility class, I can't say it enough, it's your welfare, not mine, but if you cannot push your hips back and touch the ground while keeping that spine neutral, that's a real alarm bell, okay? Not just for exercise, but life in general. You're gonna end up hurting yourself, you've probably got a bad back already and it's probably pretty stiff. Right, anyway, there's that one over. Right, let's get yourself, don't stand looking at your watch now, look at you, look somewhere else you wanna be. Right, we're gonna set ourselves up, shoulder width apart, good. You can tell the outdoor classes have commenced. Yes, they're starting to leak into this. Only problem is I don't have full control. You can quite easily just bugger off. I'm not listening to that this morning. He's off on one. Right, okay, so anyway, we're squatting down. Elbows are into the knees, pulling the knees apart. Again, another one that can just get done completely wrong. This is wrong. No tension, no stretch. Spine's arched, okay? All I'm doing here is just giving in to the tightness and creating a bad movement mechanic, okay? So make sure when you're going down, you get to the point in which you feel you can't go any further, or that starts to happen, or this starts to happen, or that starts to happen. At that exact point, you stretch out whatever's feeling tight, which for most people is the groin. Now ankles, if your ankles are that tight, you won't be able to descend down into the squat, okay? You'll get to about here, and then you'll start leaning forward. See a lot of that, yep. Just can't seem to do it. Yep, that's because you don't do your ankle mobility, okay? Simple, pure, simple, no excuses. Get it done, or don't get it done. But don't moan to me if you can't squat deep with tight ankles, because you can clearly fix that, okay? Unless, of course, you've got a real injury, but most people don't. Bad mobility is not an injury. It's not anything other than you just need to work on your mobility and get it better. Right, we've stretched out the groin. Now we're going to jog on the spot. 3 big breaths, you know, do them. They may help you. All we do is big breath in through the nose. Close your eyes if you like, but watch you don't run into something. Shake these arms out, and we're just trying to make ourselves feel relaxed, okay? We're trying to clear our head at the same time. Just try and tune myself into the moment. Get rid of all the noise in your head. and just make all this feel nice and stress-free. Good. Which leads us nicely into our chest swings. So my shoulder girdle's nice and relaxed, chest's nice and proud, shoulder blades, I'm swinging them and pulling them together, okay? So good swings, and make sure you go all the way, okay? So we are going all the way back, getting that stretch sweeping across here, really squeezing those shoulder blades like you're trying to overlap them. And when we're coming across, make sure you're actually getting all the way around, and you'll feel the stretch across your shoulders into the deltoids as well. So we're swinging across, nice and tall, nice and proud. Straight arms up, same again, okay? Make sure a bit of tension in the glutes. You can absolutely put a little bit of tension in the glutes as you run, okay? Imagine you were busting for a number 2. There we go, yep. Sounds disgusting, but let's not be shy here. You squeeze the butt a little bit, especially when you're getting closer to home, those last moments. You can absolutely walk and do that, okay? So if you do feel a lot of tightness, what happens, and what I mean by that is, we come up to here, when people start to lean back, they start to put that back into overextension. Because of the tightness up here, which you don't realise. Keep a bit of tension on the glutes at all times, and that's going to help keep your pelvis in the right position. Good. From here, God, we're on fire this morning. The sun's shining. See the power of the sun. Whew. Imagine we lived in Spain. I'd be on fire every day of the week. Good. Shoulder blades pulled together. Okay, we're going for jumping jacks, style arms only. And look at these feet. Are they moving? They're damn right they're moving, therefore yours should be moving too. Don't give me that. Just because I can't see your feet. I can tell by the pattern of your knees that these feet aren't moving. Yep, good. And we're going to do quick punches forwards. Again, we're trying to keep this nice and stable. Remember, shoulder blades pulled together. So important. And up towards the sky. Good. Fantastic. Now at this point, the beauty is on recorded. If you've got anything specific you want to do, hit that pause button and do it now. But everybody else, we're warm. We're going to practice the exercises now. Let's do it. Grab your kettlebells, pin your ears back. As always, before we start, this is important. This is your safety. This is trying to prevent you getting injured. Kettlebells. I say it every single time, and I'm happy to say it every single time. Some people only have one kettlebell. Some people with their one kettlebell, it's a little bit too heavy, especially on the first run through, especially for the practice that we're about to do. If your kettlebell feels a little bit too heavy, I want you to find some alternative, okay? One thing you will need this morning, and what I really want you to grab, is either a water bottle, a can of beans, or something that weighs a couple of kilos until we're going to be practicing the windmill, okay? We should know this one by now. We've been doing it for a few weeks. That one. Quite a simple movement pattern, but you have to have the hip hinge mastered. We'll talk about that in a second. But if you're not quite doing it right, and you're not quite sure, and you're using like a 12 kilo kettlebell, you're going to hurt yourself. Pure, simple, okay? You're going to hurt yourself. Right, the first exercise, and I want you to practice as we talk here. So I'm going to grab my lighter kettlebell because I've got such a luxury, and I'm going to do a little bit of practice, okay? I'm going to tune my head in, nice and chilled, and all we're going to do is work through all 8 exercises, talking about them, getting them right, and it's not going to take any longer than 5 minutes, but it's going to serve as a secondary warm-up. So our kettlebell swing, basics, okay? Look at my feet, roughly hip to shoulder width apart, but not too wide, enough room to get this kettlebell. Hips back, snap them forwards. Now, I recommend, as always, you don't just get straight into it. Have a look at me, okay? That's from the front. Look at my head. Am I looking at you when I go forward like this? No, I'm not, okay? I'm switching my head off, and I'm keeping that head fairly neutral. From the side, standing up tall, getting my height taken, just like before. Hips go back, snap them forwards. Hips go back, snap them forward. Crush the bejesus out of that kettlebell. Do not have a relaxed grip of that kettlebell. Keep the chest proud, keep the shoulder blades pulled together, and most importantly, make sure when you're coming forwards, you are squeezing the hell out of that butt. If you've got bad mobility, bad flexibility, that's the one thing that's going to save you. If you're defaulting and your pelvis starts to tilt, when you come forward with that horrible tilted pelvis, all that force, all that pressure, you're going to hurt yourself. You're going to pull your lower back out. So the only saving grace you've got is to squeeze the hell out of that butt and feel that lockout. Happy with that? Next exercise, exercise 2, is going to be a simple goblet squat, okay? All we're doing with the goblet squat, get a good grip. Now, as you get tired, forearms are going to get tired, your hands are going to get tired, your shoulders and biceps are going to get tired. Do not be lazy, okay? Don't hold it like this because your poor arms are burning. Get a grip. Good, literally, get a grip. Crush the hell out of it. Shoulder blades pulled together, chest proud. It's a squat, okay? I don't want you to hold it out, okay? Because you're going to fall. We're keeping it nice and tight. It's not touching my chest. It's staying in the same position over my midfoot over the center of gravity of my body, okay? So pretty much where your laces are tied, that's the line it's in, okay? The reason we do goblet squats is it because it allows people with poor mobility, especially ankle mobility, to hit a reasonable squat. And by holding the weight at the front, you really are smashing up the quads, okay? You're really loading up those quads. A simple exercise, but don't get tired and start holding it crap, right? A windmill. Again, before we go, look at this. All a windmill is me pushing my hips back and pushing them forwards. Just like a kettlebell swing, just like the warm-up. The hip hinge, that's what it's at, okay? So because now I'm going to have a, how do we pick the kettlebell up? Do we get lazy? Do we start picking it up like this and just going for it? No, we don't. We pick the kettlebell up like we're doing a clean, because we need to practice that. We put it in the racked position, we punch it up, shoulder blade pulled together, arm locked out, eyes on that kettlebell. Now, because I've got it over my head with one arm, when I do my hip hinge, I'm going to go off to the side a little bit, okay? So you're going to feel that. You're going that way, the opposite way. You are looking at the kettlebell. Don't look at the mirror. Don't look at me. Look at the kettlebell. Now, what I'm trying to do is touch my toes. However, like I say every time we do it, if you do not have the mobility to touch your toes, you're going to end up breaking form to do so. So don't try to touch your toes. Push your hips back, 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 back. And if your mobility allows you, you will touch your toes. But if you're tight, you'll get to a point where you can't go any further, because if you do, you're going to start arching your back. You're going to start looking like this, okay? Keep your eye on that kettlebell. It's hips back, hips back, hips back. Make sure, if you're not sure about this, if it doesn't quite feel right, do not use a heavy weight, okay? That's so important, because you're going to hurt yourself. Think about the position you're in here. You're loading that up with bad form, you're going to hurt yourself. So that's what I say. Use a water bottle, use something light that you can manage. That's important. If you hurt yourself, it is really your own fault. Right, next exercise. It's going to be a push press on the first couple of rounds, and then eventually we'll develop it into a snatch. Push press, again, it's from the floor. Up, rotate. I always recommend that you just rotate that wrist, overhand grip. This is a clean, okay? We need to get it up to the racked position. This is a clean. Rotate. This is about me going as slow as I can possibly go. That's what I recommend. It takes time to make that slick, okay? But make sure when you're bringing it up that you're not using the upper body. You're using the drive of the legs and the snap of the hips. That's what's important here. So there's a lot to teach you with kettlebells, hence why we always spend a bit of time at the start. It's important you understand what we're trying to do. Overhand grip, chest proud, drive and snap the hips. Racked position. I am crushing the hell out of it. I'm not lazy. I've not got that broken arm. Crush the hell out of it. The arm's pulled in tight, okay, but I'm not resting it. It's pulled in tight. This is part of me now. From here, this is me. I'm good to go. This is the start of the exercise. Push press, pull down. Push press, pull down. Now, if your kettlebell's too light, don't do the push. Just keep it a strict press, okay? But the push press is going to allow you to use a heavier weight here. I want you to struggle. I want you to use a weight that when that 30 seconds is up, you're almost about to fail, okay? From the side, it's not a squat. It's bending the knees slightly, punch. Okay, so we're using that jump almost to add power to the kettlebell, okay? And oops, bad, okay? Ignore that. From here, buzzer goes, ding dong, I'm back down, I change arms, boom, I'm up, okay? Don't start doing bad things. Try to make these transitions slick. Right, your next exercise is going to be a plank, knees to chest. No kettlebell involved. Watch me now. It's a strict, proper elbow plank, feet together, knees together, butt squeezed, core squeezed. Don't be lazy. If you're going to fail because you're doing it properly, fail. Don't then default into a bad position. You're not going to get better. Opposite knee goes to opposite elbow. You're really going to feel that, okay? It's tough. You're only lifting the hips high enough to get those knees as far up as you can without them resting on the ground, okay? So make sure you're not just holding a really bad position. From here, we're then stood up. Quite a few complicated movements this morning. That's why I'm talking in depth. Here we are, picking it up, and it's a single leg Romanian deadlift. What is a Romanian deadlift? This is a Romanian deadlift. Hips back, snap them forwards. Hips back, snap them forward. So you can see, it's the same as a kettlebell swing, but the difference is, I'm not swinging it, okay? I'm using this as a solid weight, pushing the hips back, really working those hamstrings, those glutes, and that lower back. If you're competent and confident with this movement, that's where I want you to bring the feet in, keep the chest proud, and make it a single leg Romanian deadlift. And the reason I want you to be confident and competent as I fall over is if you don't understand what a Romanian deadlift is and you try to learn it by doing single leg, you'll do it wrong, okay? Because nothing changes. A lot of people start lifting a leg up and they think too much about the leg lift. All I'm doing here is still pushing those hips back, keeping the chest proud. It's just as I push my hips back, I'll lift this leg up. Remember, it's hips back, it is not a lean forwards. This kettlebell should remain over your toes if you're pushing your hips back. If it ends up out in front, you've broken form and you've leaned forward. Any questions on a serious note? Some people are all over it, some people aren't, okay? But it's important you start to get these points and we talk about it, okay? Otherwise, all you're going to do is pick this thing up, try and replicate me without any understanding of what you're doing. You're going to hurt yourself, you're not going to get better. So seriously, on live, any questions, hit me with them now. Right, we're going for it, okay? So now you pick up the weight that you're comfortable with. It might not be your heaviest kettlebell. In fact, I would definitely recommend it's not your heaviest kettlebell at this stage of the game. This is the first run through, okay? But we're going for it. 30 seconds of kettlebell swings, straight into 30 seconds of goblet squats. We're running through the whole 8 exercises without a rest. 1 minute rest at the end, okay? Focus on quality, focus on getting better and building your confidence. Don't rush it. Pick the kettlebell up, let's go for it. Hit! So by now, if you have been following along, these kettlebell swings are going to start feeling a bit less thought out, giving you a chance to focus on the main fundamentals, which is keeping your feet driven into the ground. Drive the toes, just like a squat. Drive those toes. Your next exercise coming up is a goblet squat. Make sure your transitions are safe. Good. So if your kettlebell's not too heavy, you can just pick it up. Hold it by the horns, pull it in tight, chest proud, shoulder blades together, squatting. When you're doing a front squat, which is basically what a goblet squat is, try to imagine you're sitting into a chair. Okay, we're trying to keep the body a bit more vertical, the torso a bit more vertical than if we were doing a squat with something on our back, which is going to bring the weight onto the legs more. Windmills. So this is where you're going to grab your lighter kettlebell or your bottle of water. Remember, we're cleaning it up, racking it, punching it, locking it out, eyes on. Hips back, snap the hips forward, squeeze the butt. Hips back. So there's a lot of hip hinging today. Don't forget, it might be a different exercise, but it's the same thing. Chest proud, hips back. Don't rush it. So to change, we bring it down, flick it off, change arms, clean it up, press it, same again. On this one, your feet are hip to shoulder width apart again. You'll find what works for you. Make sure we're crushing that kettlebell. Make sure you're giving it a stare out. Make sure you've not got a cocked wrist. Make sure you're punching it towards the sky and your elbows locked out, okay? That's so important. Don't be holding it like this. We must lock it out. Good. From here, I'm down, onto the floor. We're going for push press now, okay? So change back to the other arm. Push, pull down. Push. On this run through, even if you're stuck with a pretty light kettlebell, I want you to do the push. I want you to learn the push. I'm up, I'm pulling it down, okay? I'm up and I'm pulling it down. Your shoulder blades should be pulled together from start to finish, and the only thing you feel moving is the shoulder joint and the elbow joint. Back down to the floor, overhand grip, chest proud, drive the feet, snap the hips, push, pull down, push, pull down, okay? Now look at me now. If you're doing this, which I'm seeing, and I see a lot of, that's not right, okay? Racked position, it's on the outside of the forearm, it doesn't change. If you're forcing yourself like this, your kettlebell's too heavy, okay? All that's going to happen, good, plank, knees to elbow. Let's get in the position. Let's go straight into it. So a point to note, if your kettlebell's too heavy, you might have the brute force and brute strength to get it up, but what's going to happen there is you're going to develop very bad habits and very bad movement mechanics. And that's where you'll find that you struggle to progress or you hurt yourself. So if it feels a mess, it's probably too heavy. Good. So we're standing up, single leg or double leg Romanian deadlifts. If you're not sure, start with the 2 legs on the floor. Hips back, squeeze the butt. The kettlebell, you can lightly tap the ground. Don't transfer any weight and don't reach for the ground. So when I'm saying to you to tap the ground, if you're doing single leg, it's alternating. I should have said that. Good. So very quickly, rest there. When I'm telling you to tap the ground, that can encourage people to do this. They reach for the ground. They start bouncing it and they start reaching the weight that anticipate you hitting the ground. You hitting the ground should come as a shock, if that makes sense. You're pushing your hips back. Oh, there it is. Hips back. Oh, there it is. It shouldn't be waiting for it. Boom, reaching for it. Good, have a rest. 30 seconds. If you've got questions, of course, on live, it might help someone, but make sure I'm not hitting this pause button, okay? You've got 25 seconds to blot it out. Biggest thing is, and what I'm seeing, if you're starting to real make a mess of it, like, oh God, you're gonna hurt yourself. Your kettlebell is too heavy. Right, so we've done the first run through. Maybe you used a lighter one, or like me, you'll see me switching. Okay, for the likes of a windmill, I'm not gonna use a lot of weight, but the like of the swings, I'm gonna use more. 5 seconds, let's pick these kettlebells up. Kettlebell swings, everybody. Chest proud, shoulder blades pulled together, hips back, snap the hips forwards, squeeze the butt cheeks as hard as you can. This kettlebell comes to eye level. Breathing. You can hear the breathing. Powerful, fast. In through the nose, out through the mouth on the forward swing. Really try to be explosive. Really try and throw those hips forwards and squeeze the hell out of the butt. Goblet squats next. Stand by. So break the swing, up, hold it by the horns, chest proud, we're already pretty much in the position. Squatting down, pull the knees apart, drive up, squeeze the butt. Pull the knees apart, drive up, squeeze the butt. It's controlled, okay? If you're fairly light, of course you'll be going faster. If you've got a heavier kettlebell, it'll be a little bit slower. And either one's fine. Good work. Windmills next. Remember what I said, please. Be careful. Learn the movement pattern. So I'm off to that. Practice these cleans. Clean. Press, lock it out. Stable shoulder. Hips back, hips back, hips back. Oh, I touched my toes. So same again. Touching the toes should be a shock. Hips back, hips back, hips back. Oh, I touched my toes. Don't lean for them. Don't anticipate them. If you touch the toes, great. If you don't, because you feel you're just too tight, don't push it. Okay, you need to work on your mobility and flexibility. Pull it down, roll it off, change arms, chest up, drive the feet, snap the hips, clean. Press, hips back, hips back, hips back. So we should be able to do all that without moving the feet. Transition from left to right, or vice versa. Eyes on the kettlebell, so that kettlebell's over you at all times, center of gravity. And one thing you will feel is if that kettlebell moves out your center of gravity, it feels like it's going to rip the shoulder out of joint, okay? It's going to feel hard. Okay, so we're down, push, press, but I'm changing sides. Changing sides, a bit heavier this time. If you can, push. Now, if you're new to it, okay, use a lightweight, learn the movement pattern, but if you've been doing this a wee while, your shoulder press feels okay, I would recommend you do the push press, if you can, with a weight that you need to push press. One that if you were to not push press, you would, yeah, maybe get up, but you'd struggle. Push press. That's how, change, that's how you learn how to push press. Okay, you don't learn to push press a weight that you can shoulder press. You learn to push press properly by pushing a weight that you can't. But of course, you have to learn the movement pattern properly. We're squeezing the hell out of this. We're crushing it. Feel the power, feel the stability in your arm by crushing this and not having a lazy grip. Knees to elbow plank next. We're putting these kettlebells down safely when the buzzer goes. Down safely, boom, off to the side. I'm straight down, no farting about. Establish a good plank. Feet together, knees together, squeeze the butt, squeeze the core, and then start bringing those opposite knee up to try and touch. You're probably not going to touch the elbow, but imagine you're trying. If you really try, you're going to feel that core working like hell. Single leg, Romanian deadlifts next, or double-legged if you're not quite confident. Confidence doesn't mean that you're scared, okay? So please push the boundary. The only way you're going to get better at a single leg Romanian deadlift is if you're doing them. Sometimes when I give people the easier option, they just go, haha, I'll just take the easy option. I can't change. I can't force you to, sorry. But if you feel your Romanian deadlifts with 2 feet on the floor are all right, get the single leg. Start working hard. Push yourself. Don't settle for the easy road. Good. As always, 60 seconds. Any questions? That's round 2 in the bag. If I repeat myself, I'm happy to repeat myself, because if I'm repeating myself over and over, it means it's important, okay? If you feel out of control, if you feel like kettlebell's controlling you, it's too heavy. Learn the movement pattern, learn how to do and work through the movement, understand where you should be going before you start using a weight that challenges you, okay? Once you've got the movement pattern, you then use a weight that challenges you. That's where you're going to learn the technique, because if you're not doing it right and just going slow and you're not getting up powerful, you're going to have to, okay? Same with kettlebell swings. You really learn how to kettlebell swing better when you use a kettlebell that you really struggle to get up. It teaches you how to do it properly. Anyway, stand by, kettlebell swings. Let's do it. 10 seconds. Let's pick these kettlebells up. Just get in the habit. When you've got this, squeeze the hell out of it, okay? I can't say it enough. Stand by, hips back, snap them forwards, hips back, snap them forwards. It's all I'm thinking about. Pushing my whole hip unit back and then smacking it forward, squeezing the butt. My toes, I'm driving them hard into the ground, just like a squat. Remember, this kettlebell goes to eye level because I'm smacking my hips forwards, not because I'm lifting it with the shoulders. You should feel yourself balanced on the whole foot. Shouldn't feel on the tiptoes, shouldn't feel like you're on the heels. Goblet squats next. So again, kill the swing, good solid grip. Set yourself up, and you can see I'm taking care to set up in each position. When it comes to weight, if you start rushing around, you're going to hurt yourself. Once again, crush the hell out of it. Chest proud, sit into that chair. Forwards with the hips, squeeze the butt. Windmills next, kettlebell down. Get the safer one, your water bottle or whatever you're using. Overhand grip, chest up, drive and snap. Push it up, lock it out, crush it. Hips back, keep your eye on the kettlebell. Hips forward, squeeze the bum. Hips back, hips back, hips back. And if you're doing this properly, like I say, even though you're pushing your hips back in the same manner as you would do on a kettlebell swing, you're going to feel like you're pushing your hips back in the opposite direction, into a corner if you like, down. So that's normal. If you're feeling that, you're still trying to push your hips back, same way you would on a kettlebell swing, but it's going to feel like it's going to the opposite corner. Imagine you were stood in the center of a square. It will feel like your hips are going to one of the back corners of the square. Make sure hips go back, snap them forward, squeeze the butt. This is a core exercise. Good work, let's go. Push press. Good, I've picked up the light one, damn it. Right, up, push press, pull down. So look at my position in my elbow. It's underneath the kettlebell, vertical forearm. That's why I'm telling you to pull it down, okay? I see a lot of this going on. People doing it like they've got a dumbbell in their hand. No, all the way down. Always returning to that racked position. We flick it off, overhand grip, chest up, drive the feet, snap the hips, crush it, punch it. Same again, down under control. Punch it, pull it down. If you really think about pulling it down, instead of lowering it, as in you're pulling it out of the sky, it's going to help you keep the shoulder girdle stable. It's going to keep that shoulder blade pulled together. You should feel the core working here, especially if you're challenging yourself with the weight that you're using. Good. Off to the side, plank, knees to chest, knees to elbow, should I say. So again, establish a good solid plank first. Lift the hips only enough to let that knee through, but then return them back to normal. So when you bring your feet together again, squeeze the butt, squeeze the core. Remember, if it feels blooming hard, you're doing it right. So many people do a real bad plank, I can hold a plank for 5 minutes. Can you? Okay, but can you do it properly? Single leg Romanian deadlifts. I want everyone doing them. If you have to not use a kettlebell, make sure you're doing these single leg ones now. It's kind of easier sometimes if you're using a bit of weight. But remember, it's hips back, never leaning forwards, never falling forwards. I'm just pushing my hips back, and as I do so, I'm raising my leg. A great exercise for fixing imbalance. A good posterior chain strengthener, that one. And anytime we're using one limb, working the core big time there, okay? As always, questions, you can fire them at me. But everyone's looking good, okay? Everyone is. I'm keeping an eye on people as we go. If you're an overthinker, okay, and there's plenty of them out there, okay, you're probably feeling that you're not very good because you're looking for perfection. It's a curse and a blessing, okay? Perfection will never come. Or it shouldn't. Because the day you think you're perfect at doing these sort of things is the day you switch off. We don't want to switch off ever. We never want to think we're all over it. I certainly don't. When I'm swinging the kettlebell, even in a basic kettlebell swing, I'm still thinking, driving my toes in, squeezing the hell out of my butt, okay? Because sure as fate in the past when I haven't, like that last time, a while ago, remember I pulled my back out? No one even noticed. No one even cared. It's hellish. Right, okay, anyway. Okay, I'm only joking. Go! Kettlebell swings. Heavy kettlebell swings. Let's start challenging myself with a weight. But when I say challenge, still in control. It's just difficult now. If you're using a weight that's challenging to get up, that's good. Snap the hips, because what you'll learn is that we really need to snap those hips forwards and drive those feet into the ground. Good. Let's get it done. You should feel balanced on your feet. Into the goblet squat. Kill the momentum. Up. Hold it. Crush it. Boom. Pulling the knees apart. Drive. Squeeze the butt. Pulling the knees apart. Drive. Squeeze the butt. Keep that chest proud. You should never feel that your shoulder blades are being pulled apart. And you should never feel that you're starting to round your upper body, okay? Chest proud. That's tight. And that's why this is going to really, really test that. We're holding weight at the front. Think about it. It's trying to pull us forward. Those muscles on our back are stopping that. Windmills. So remember, you should have the flexibility and mobility to touch your toes by pushing your hips back. But if you don't, you go to that point in which you feel that if you go any further, you're going to lose form. You're going to start rounding that spine. Make sure the elbow's locked out. Good. Change arms. Again, don't rush it. Make sure you're still transitioning with a clean and press. Crush the hell out of it. It's all about developing shoulder stability with this one. So if you are weak on the shoulders, bad mobility, this will highlight it to you. You'll struggle to keep that arm locked out. You'll struggle to keep it solid. And that's okay, because we're getting better each rep that you do. Clean and press. Then push press. Clean, push press. Pull down. You should feel this is not moving. The core's solid. You shouldn't feel like you're leaning underneath it or being pulled by it. Solid. Only thing moving is that elbow and shoulder joint. Punch it up, pull it down. Punch it up. Let's crush these kettlebells, please. Change arms. Racked position. Look at the racked position. Elbows underneath. Elbows underneath. It's not on my shoulder. It is not on my shoulder. Punch. Pull it back down to the racked position. The racked position. Punch. Pull down. This is where I'm starting. It's not resting on anything. Good. Get out of the mindset of using a dumbbell. Okay, if we were doing dumbbells, we'd probably be like this. We're not doing that. Elbow underneath. Good. That's better. Down we go. But again, if you're really struggling to maintain that, your kettlebell's too heavy. Elbow plank, squeeze the butt. Feet together, knees together. Boom. Opposite knee, opposite elbow. Opposite knee, opposite elbow. Single leg Romanian deadlifts next. Challenge yourself. Go. Whether it's with weight or without weight, but either way, challenge yourself. Don't settle for I can't do this or I'm rubbish. Okay? Maybe you are rubbish. If you do something about it and practice, you're only going to get better. You're not going to get worse. Balance, coordination comes with practice. You'll see me losing balance now and again. And quite often or not, it's because I've switched off. I've let my mind wander. Good. Right, everybody. Great work as always. We're going to go for one more round, okay? We're really working on the basics. Let's look at this now. Racked position, okay? This is the racked position. 40 seconds. This is where I'm at, okay? I'm not here, I'm not resting it on my shoulder, I'm crushing it, and it's sitting, resting against my forearm with that elbow pulled in underneath the hand. That elbow being directly underneath the hand, physics, that's exactly the optimal position it's going to be in to press. If you're here, you're losing out on so much tricep strength, okay, and you're putting a lot of strain and stress in your shoulder. So that 12 kilo kettlebell probably feels more like 20, okay? Keep it there, punch, pull down. Punch, 5 seconds. Kettlebell swings. Get you on the road. Go. And again, if that sounds new to you, slow it down, man. Slow it down. Use a lighter weight or no weight and get it right. There's no rush with this. And if you rush it, if you brute force your way through all this, you're going to hurt yourself and you're never going to get better. You're never going to understand the technique involved. Goblet squats, stand by. Good, so we kill the momentum. Up, crush it, down we go. Drive up, squeeze the butt. Really think about the glutes on this one. You should feel them working, especially after those swings. Pull those knees apart, drive up, squeeze the butt. Not leaning forward. Good. Big breath in on the way down, boom, poof. Big breath out on the way up. Windmills next. Good. Windmills, complicated exercise. So if you're struggling with them, it's fine, as long as you're keeping form. Go slow, take your time. With this movement, the one limiting factor when you've been able to do it properly is your mobility and flexibility. And once again, I'm not bowing into it. If you're struggling to get down to your toes and you're feeling all that tightness, you can do something about it, okay? I'm not offering an alternative. It's your best interest. If you're really struggling to do this, you really need to work on that mobility for your own sake, beyond exercise. If you cannot touch your toe, a few mobility sessions in the bag, you'll be able to. But if you are struggling with that range of movement, you've probably got a tight lower back already. Good, down we go, into the push press. So maybe use a heavier kettlebell if you're able to. So let's get this racked position correct. Crush it, elbow underneath, punch. That kettlebell's not resting on anything. It's slotted in on my forearm. Pulling it down, okay? It's tight. I'm not resting that elbow. I'm not resting it. Pull round to the front. Kettlebell's pulled round to the front here. Good. That's it, see? I know it's not very good because I've got a black t-shirt on. Background's black. Kettlebell's black. Just realising that I'll need to spray it bright pink. Punch. And you can see with the push press, it's just a slight bend in the knees, driving the feet into the ground, almost like you're trying to jump. Use the tiptoes as well, all the way up. Get the power from those calves too, not just the quads. Pull down, you can see it's controlled. Well, down, safely, elbow plank, knees to opposite elbow. Feet together, knees together, butt squeeze, core squeeze, then go. Every time you bring your foot back, squeeze the butt, squeeze the core. Squeeze the butt, squeeze the core. Holding that solid plank, you should feel solid. Really apply that force, get better. Single leg Romanian deadlifts coming up next. It's your last run through, everybody. Let's get it done. Good, we're up. Stand up tall, pick the kettlebell up safely. From here, chest proud, shoulder blades pulled together. Hips back, hips back, hips back. Remember, if you're doing it right, kettlebell will be directly over your feet. Don't look down at your toes. Whoa, losing concentration. Don't look down at your toes because they'll just end up curving your spine. The best piece of advice I'll give you is just try to switch your neck and eyes off. Don't move them. Good. Done. Okay, thank you very much. Walk around at the bare minimum. Walk around, shake out. So again, kettlebells are hard to teach because it's like anything. I can throw it at you and throw it at you and throw it at you. It's what you do with it. Okay, if you're not taking on board what I'm saying, you're using too heavy a kettlebell, or on the opposite end of the spectrum, your kettlebell's too light and you're just using the same light one over and over again. If you're using too heavy, you're not going to learn the technique because you're going to be making a mess of it. You're going to be using brute force. If your kettlebell's too light, you're not going to learn the technique because you don't need it. Okay, you can just move it around, easy peasy. Learn the movement pattern, build the weight up, challenge yourself. Work on your mobility. This stuff will highlight your faults, okay? It will highlight your faults, clear as day to you. And I can't say it enough, if you're struggling with the range of movements in these key movements, such as the windmill, hip hinge, you've probably got problems going on elsewhere, okay? You've probably got a sore lower back. You probably struggle with a lot of other things, okay? And it can be fixed. This is great, okay? This is us strengthening up those muscles that are weak, those imbalances, we really are. That's why kettlebells are great. They'll highlight your weaknesses, your faults, and they'll strengthen them up. But, like I say, we need to work on the mobility and flexibility at the same time. For example, your lower back, you're always popping it out. Your lower back's probably weak, so we need to strengthen it, and we need to strengthen muscles around it, but we also need to free up that mobility and flexibility. I say lower back because it's common, but that can apply to anywhere, okay? Simple as that. Thank you very much. Any questions, fire them at me. But as always, keep practicing. Don't get hung up on it too much. Most of these are probably doing it fantastic, and you probably don't realize it. But at the same time, if you've been doing kettlebells a while and you know that you're going to be doing them for a while, as in you've been doing them if you've done all 8 sessions, you're pretty much into it, okay? This is your first 2 and you're feeling great. Don't go and buy a new one. Wait and see if you're into it first, but then I would encourage you, buy some more. It's hard to get them just now, but it's going to benefit you so much more when you've got the means of switching weights, because I usually switch between 2. Windmills are going to be my lightest one, okay? Things like my kettlebell swing, they're going to be the heaviest. So do what you can. I appreciate some people only have 1, but at the same time, 8 sessions into it, 9 sessions into it, or we've been doing kettlebells a while, if you're still doing them, you're not wasting your money on them, okay? It's an investment. Unless you put this thing out in the rain and leave it for a decade, okay, you're probably going to have this. This thing's probably going to outlive you. Thank you very much. Don't buy plastic. Don't buy plastic. Plastic's guff, okay? They'll end up, you'll get a 12 that's this size, and it'll just rip your hands to shreds. Again, get what you can get, use what you can use, but if you're going to buy one, cast iron, cheap. You can buy ones wrapped in vinyl, your favorite color or whatever. You pay more. At the end of the day, 16 kilos is 16 kilos, whether it's 20 quid or 100 quid. But good old cast iron, you can't go wrong with. Thank you very much. Any questions? Fire them at me now. If you don't have any, have a good Monday and let's get after it this week. It's a new week, sun's shining.
I